Hey guys, Goggsy here, and welcome to a very rare live stream. It's not been often that I've been able to grace you guys with a live feed, but here we are from my own bedroom today. We've been joined by Alex Marr and Ewan Rankin. Alex's SPFL Watch on SPFL Media Watch on Twitter. Sorry, I got that right there, didn't I?
I mean, both work, to be fair. It's at SPFL Watch, so they both work.
And of course, Ewan is my fellow co-panelist on Open Goal at times and on the Talk Livy podcast. How you doing?
I'm good, mate. Open Goal wise, it's my farewell tour, I think, going by this season.
I really hope not, because that's the only reason why I won't Livy up, because I think you'd be a massive miss to the panel.
Oh, you're too kind, mate. You're too kind. But
Open Goal football first, starting next season, yeah.
Exactly. I'll get the championship one on the go. I'll suggest it to Si and Slaney and see what they think. But it's a tough season all in, and kind of was hoping that the man who's united Scottish football almost as much as Steve Clark, Derek Adams, was going to be staying in the job a wee bit longer, but sadly, he's decided to walk and try and get his job back at Morecambe. So, it's not looking good for us at this moment in time.
Which is funny, because I do think he's probably going to walk back into a job at League 2, League 1 level. I think that's just the sad state of affairs that is football, because it doesn't matter what he does in Scotland, he'll always be almost in a high regard in England.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, most Ross County fans I spoke to when he came in were delighted that he was coming back, given his previous two spells. But he's just, some of this stuff is absolutely mad what he was coming out with. The comment about Scottish football, as I say, he essentially just made Ross County a target from that comment alone. And then his post-match the other night after the game against Motherwell, I'm sure you revelled in, Goggsy, but
yes,
he was taking zero responsibility for it. It was all kind of the club are in a bad place. Ross County are in a bad place at this moment in time. He was taking absolutely nothing to do with it and was making himself very separate from it, as if to say, I'm not the problem.
Well, he very much was, because they're in a much worse state. They did start off quite well under him, and then all of a sudden it went.
But I mean, I shouldn't be talking about a club in a state, given where Livy are at this moment in time. I think I've got a bit of a cheat. But
as you've said, though, in previous times, that you are technically punching above your weight, even being in the division. So I don't think we can really slag you that much, even though you bought 9 tickets for the Kilmarnock game last night.
Do you want to know? I think it tells you more what the club think of me now, if I've been critical on the podcast, because I was one of the 9 that paid. So, so I think that tells you more about maybe what the club are thinking about me and the Talk Livy podcast of the last 3 or 4 months, of maybe being a tad more critical than previous seasons. But as we should have taken more from the game last night as well, to be brutally honest.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, Scotland wise, this is what we're here to chat about today.
This is exactly. I was just getting on from the occasional chit chat, and we are talking about the Nations League, which is about to be drawn. The program, I believe, has started. I've got it on my phone, and we're going to go through who we can get possibly. But first and foremost, let's look at the comments. How you doing, Susan? Nice to see you. Kyle, it starts probably in about 10-15 minutes, because they usually drag on a wee bit of formalities. Hello, Robbie. Adam G says, are you coming up to Aberdeen next week? Yes, I am. I'm leaving my girlfriend in the house to go to Aberdeen on Valentine's Day. But let's not talk about that.
Right. Even over that, Goggsy.
we did move Valentine's Day to Sunday, so
right, okay.
It works for both parties. I keep telling myself that.
You're going to be in the doghouse for a while, mate.
No, the Goghouse.
I'm not loving that one, I'm sorry.
But yes, we'll go through the teams that we could be playing. In pot 1 is Spain, Croatia, Italy, and Holland. In pot 2, Denmark, Portugal, Belgium, and Hungary, who will be playing on match day 3 in the Euros. In pot 3, Switzerland, Germany, Poland, or France. And pot 4, it's only us we can't get any of the other 3 teams that are in pot 4. So it's just I didn't really need to put the other 3, but I thought fuck it, I had extra time. But Alex has the information on the Nations League because he is the Scottish football media encyclopedia. So, like you were telling me before the stream, like what's actually the permutations of this Nations League?
So yeah, this time it's changed again because UEFA have decided it hasn't changed for 2 editions. So let's go and do it again. Basically, instead of just the group winners going to the finals and the bottom teams relegated, basically means there's something for everyone now. So if you finish in the top 2 of your group, you're going to be in a quarter final. And then if you finish third in your group, you're going to have a relegation playoff against one of the teams that finished second in the division below. So, there's a scenario where we could end up playing England in a promotion relegation playoff.
As if there wasn't enough games in the international calendar.
I know, exactly. Because that's the one thing that UEFA need is more games. Funnily enough, they are actually taking 2 games away from the European qualifiers for the World Cup. So the groups are going to be slightly smaller, and the Nations League takes up a bigger part, effectively. So the March internationals are going to become kind of non-existent, really, as a kind of swap. And if you finish bottom of your group, you're relegated, no playoff, nothing like that. So it's interesting. I think the format, in some ways, Scotland benefit from it. In the fact that we're probably not going to win the group. I think that's quite unrealistic. We could finish second if we get a good draw. Realistically, though, I think if we escape bottom spot, I think that would be pretty good. I mean, I think it's going to be 3 teams that should be better than us. There'll be some great occasions, especially if we get some decent away days in there. There's a few decent away days. I think this is just one we should revel in it for as long as possible. And for the SFA, they get an extra €2 million for being in the A League, so I think they'll quite like that, and I'm sure that'll pay for a few more Blazers.
Excellent. Ewan, our resident 29 pointer. Is that
28?
Was close enough. What are you making of tonight's draw? Who would you happily take?
I mean, running through the pots again, I think one of the best case scenarios was Croatia, Denmark, Poland. I think would have probably been the best bet. Yeah, I'd probably take, to be honest, Croatia or Holland at this moment in time out of pot 1. Pot 2, as I say, kind of Denmark, and then pot 3. I mean, how are France in pot 3? Right.
they were awful in the Nations League last time. They nearly got relegated.
So it's one of those ones where obviously we've just recently played France, albeit we did decide to go and play our second string over in France whilst they decided to not rip the piss and put out their first 11, as you can imagine, and we were comfortably beaten in the end. But I did think
it was a great first 15 minutes, though.
I think we gave a decent account of ourselves, in fairness, during the game. But as you say, it's a friendly, it's a different tempo to it. But yeah, I think that would be the best case scenario in terms of looking to finish as high up the group as possible and probably having more competitive games. I know Steve Clark's kind of made a really big point with the recent kind of friendlies that we've had, because we had a smaller group for that Euros there, of facing better quality opposition, because it's all well and good taking on friendlies here and there just to keep confidence up, but are you actually testing yourself? Are you actually progressing as a team? And I think that's the next step. We are at that point now. We have qualified for back-to-back Euros, and I think we do need to start testing ourselves against the best, because if you want to progress in these tournaments, you need to play the best teams at some point, and you need to try and be competitive against them. And I think there was the England game, I thought, was a bit of an eye-opener. I think that kind of brought a lot of Scotland fans maybe back down to earth a little bit after the start to the Euros campaign, and showed you that there is that gulf still between being a good international side and a very good international side, and the France game, albeit the France game's kind of caveated with the fact that we rested a lot of players, but the next one we've got is Holland, so again that should be a decent marker of where the team's sitting at going into the Euros, I think.
Well, I'll quickly look at some of the comments before we crack on with the next bit of dialogue. Stuart, Inverness fan. Yes, I'll be at Capello tomorrow, 7:30 kickoff. So managed to get the day off work as well, so not too shabby. I've yet to pay for my flights, but they are basically like I've got a button ready to press like as soon as I get paid. Like, but it's painful just waiting for being paid. Take a hint, Google. Guten Tag, Robbie. Fancy playing Italy. When's the last time we played them? Yeah, I think so.
Actually, the last time we played them was in.
We played them at friendly. Yeah.
It was we got pumps there, didn't we? It was 3-0.
We got absolutely battered. I'm almost certain Stephen Kingsley played in that game from memory.
I remember I was in Ibiza at the time and I was trying to find a pub in Ibiza that showed the game. Couldn't find any place. It was probably for the best, to be fair.
Yeah, mighty game. I don't sit in there anymore because it's a better view where I sit, and I can actually sit and talk to the camera instead of some punter sitting in the background of my shot making funny faces. We'll leave score predictions for tomorrow. My preferred group, right? I would take the Netherlands because I'm probably not going to go to Amsterdam because I can't afford it at the moment because I'm saving for Germany. And pot 2, I would take probably either Belgium or Hungary. I was in Budapest recently when coming back from Tbilisi, and that was a good few hours. And pot 3, Poland for the cheap drink. Gotta be.
Well, I'm actually going to Budapest in a few weeks with a message. So, but I have been to Poland before to watch us. That was when we clinched promotion to the Nations League against
I was
Ukraine.
at that as well. Yeah,
was in Krakow for that one. So
was I.
I also came home with COVID. So it was a memorable trip for a lot of reasons. And funny story behind.
To be fair, you could have come home with worse things from that.
Yeah, that's very true. But the last 2 times I've done karaoke, I've ended up with COVID, and I did karaoke very drunkenly after the game. The best 0-0 you could ever imagine, and ended up with COVID. So I felt absolutely horrific for about a week after that game. Probably slightly induced by a hangover as well, if I'm brutally honest, because I ended up doing shots of Sambuca with 2 massive Ukrainian men. Again in my drunken state. So yeah, it was an eventful trip, Krakow. We almost never made it either because a lorry overturned on the M6. The road was closed for an hour and a half, and at one point my dad was driving 120 miles an hour over the Shap on the way down to Liverpool airport to get our flight, and we made it with about half an hour before our flight departed. So yeah, slightly eventful.
So when you were drinking with these Ukrainian men, was that in one of the Zloty bars in the town square?
Yeah, that was in the by the way, beautiful
wonderful
square
place
in the middle of Krakow. It's stunning. Not that I saw a lot of the touristy things that Krakow had to offer other than the inside of a pub. But
well, I'll tell you, right, so obviously we had the highs of getting promoted on the game day, and I took my missus to Auschwitz the next day.
Oh wow! Talk about a downer.
Yeah,
I'm gonna say that's a very sobering place to go.
Yeah,
it was. But it was an experience and a half. But it's not really one to do when you're half cut.
Yeah, I wouldn't imagine so. But yeah, going to Budapest soon, not for football related, but again, it'll be interesting if we do draw them. You'll get a glimpse of them at the Euros as well. But it'll be. I think the Nations League and how they've set up the qualifiers for the Euros as well, and the Nations League kind of playing a pivotal part in the pots, I think has opened up qualification a lot more. I feel if, for example, ourselves kind of going up a pot, England dropping pots, I think, as I say, it's kind of allowed countries maybe like ourselves who maybe aren't that elite level of international side to maybe get a slightly more favourable draw, and you're not, clutching at straws and whether you can qualify. I do think the Nations League's been a really great addition in terms of getting rid of the
It definitely
pointless friendlies. I think it's
Yeah.
a genuine improvement on the international setup.
I mean, who wouldn't want to have the Carling Nations Cup back though? Like that's the elite of European competition.
And we still didn't win it. I still remember Kenny Miller missing a 1v1 to take it to extra time. I still remember it.
Was that the rule that go to extra time? I couldn't remember.
Or penalties. I can't remember.
I think it was just penalties.
I think we might actually won it if Kenny Miller had equalised. It was. All I remember is Kenny Miller missing a 1v1 was very pivotal in terms of taking home some silverware. But, God.
So, final question. Do you prefer a smaller qualifying group and a larger Nations League group or group phase? Or do you prefer the status quo?
I like the new format better. I think the issue with qualifying has been that it's been too long. I mean, I think... If you think about it this way, I think for us we do better in short bursts. If you think about the first 5 games of the last campaign, we were fantastic, and then it kind of trailed off towards the end. And if it was a 12 or 14 game campaign like it was at like Euro 2008, you just have time. You can have a long spell of a long bad run in there, which hurts Scotland. I think a shorter 6-8 game group works perfect for us, and it's the way that Steve Clarke quite likes to have the squad quite tight knit. And the game's getting played September, October, November. It's short and sweet. For me, it just seems much better. Feels more Champions League-y rather than like, oh yeah, this is internationals.
Yeah, and yourself, Ewan?
Yeah, I kind of agree. I like the fact that qualification for a tournament's no longer dragged out over 2 years. It's all in the kind of one calendar year that you get it done and dusted, and then I think it allows. It's opened up, as you say, the Nations League. You've got the Nations League playoffs, which I think get played next month, if I'm right in saying, in terms of the final spots for the Euros. But as I say, it's opened up that other avenue for qualification. Let's be honest, we benefited from it already. So, we couldn't not like it. The fact that we got through the back door for Euro 2020, 2021, whatever year it ended up getting played, I can't quite remember. But I think it's a massive plus point. As I say, it's given countries like Macedonia, who got to play at the last Euros, an opportunity. I mean, it's great for these countries. It's fantastic. So, I think it's...
You look at that. Yeah. You look at the PAF C, it's wide open. Anyone can qualify from it in any given tournament, and it just makes it brilliant.
Yeah, definitely is. Although I do prefer what is right, or what was right now, because I still wanted to tick off the likes of like Latvia, Lithuania, like all the sort of pot 4, pot 5 nations that are probably going to get sandwiched together. So there's going to be less chance of that, but like it's a small price to pay if it means that Scotland are going to qualify for a tournament.
Should say draws are actually underway now.
The draw is.
That is the purpose of this, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's League D. So Lithuania and Gibraltar, or Gibraltar, have been drawn with San Marino in Group 1 of League D, and Moldova's in Group 2 so far. So we'll just give you updates on that as it goes through.
Again, though, like the D League, it's like I think we said off air. It used to be 16 teams, and it was a bit wild because it was just too much. Now they've almost flipped it from being a 12, 15, 16 format to being 3 leagues of 16, then a league of 7. It really does give the real minnows something to play for. It's not inconceivable that San Marino could win the group that they're in, because they're playing two teams that they could get results against. Whereas, if the old D League, they'd have to play like a Kazakhstan or a Georgia or potentially even a Greece if they were in a bad run of form, or even Northern Ireland, who would just batter them. So there's no, it just provides that extra opportunity for all countries, really, which can only really be a good thing, I think.
Aye. Well, League D has been drawn, and Lithuania or Gibraltar are in a group with San Marino and Liechtenstein, and in Group 2, Moldova, Malta, and Andorra. Andorra and Moldova have a world record of amount of 0-0s between each other as well. Like over the last 6 years.
But it's quite interesting to see Moldova in League D, still in League D, because they were, one game away from qualifying from the groups proper qualifying.
Oh, they'll be fine this campaign, I think.
Yeah, I mean, they were absolutely fantastic. I watched a few of their games because just during international break, if you've got a Viaplay subscription, you've got to go and just get the most out of it.
Yeah.
But I think they played Poland, the 1-3-2. They were brilliant in that game. They were absolutely fantastic. And even against the final game of the group against Czechia, in I think it was where we played them. It wasn't in Prague. It was it's going to annoy me now. Omoluch. They were unlucky.
when we played their futsal team.
Yeah, exactly. Just played Fortuna Liga team. And did we even win? I think it was a draw in the end or something.
Nah, we won 2-1.
We beat them both times in that group, and we still finished below them because we got beat by Slovakia and Israel away.
That was it. Yeah, that was all just during COVID. It's just kind of like all those games merge into my mind. Like, I still think
certain London Dykes scored his first goal for Scotland in that game.
Wonder what happened to him.
He's now got 30 caps. It's hard to believe that 30 matches have been played since then.
I know, it's bonkers, but my boy Dykesy, I love the big man. He was absolutely immense for us, and I remember watching him probably 4 or 5 games into his time at Livy, and we'd obviously clocked that his mum and dad are from Dumfries. He qualified, and I thought from then, I was like, he'll do a job for us if the question's asked. And I like to think we started the Lyndon Dykes train of trying to get him playing for Scotland, because it was after we beat Celtic and he absolutely bullied Julian across the park in that game and scored that brilliant lob over Fraser Foster. We used to get to go into the press room, and we were in afterwards, and all the press guys are going, "Oh, what's the chat about him qualifying for Scotland? There's this," and I was the only one that definitively knew why he qualified for Scotland in the room, and I wasn't any of the press. I was just doing our podcast, and was like, "Yeah, he qualifies for Scotland. His mum and dad are from Dumfries," and that kind of started off the chain of questions. But about 2 weeks before that, we had him on the podcast, and we asked him, like, right, 2 phones on the table, one's the SFA, one's the Aussie FA, which one do you pick up? The kind of originally he said the Aussie FA, but we planted the seed, you see. We planted the seed, and the doubt went into his mind, and now I think there's a lot of better Scotland strikers, or so-called better Scotland strikers, that would kill for his record. What is it, close to one every 3 games for Scotland?
Yeah, something
and
like
some
that.
very important goals. So, and amongst that, so
I think we did a great swap, because like going the other way, Jason Cummings obviously got the call for Australia, and well, he didn't really do that great after leaving Hibs, did he? In the grand scheme of things.
I've got loyalties in line here because I'm half Australian, so so this is quite an interesting conversation for me, just to kind of back off here. But there's been a few, to be fair, because Harry Souttar's another one, Martin Boyle, and the fact that our league just seems to be a staging ground for every Australian player at some point. So I think the Australian Football Federation are getting a fair amount of return on that deal, as it were.
I would say so.
Absolutely.
Wait, didn't United just get a bit of windfall for BH going to Saudi Pro League?
Yeah, who would have thought a sell-on clause on a 32-year-old would have came to fruition, eh? That's
half £500,000 for not even a sell-on, a loan fee for a 6-month loan from the A-League to Saudi Arabia. So Luigi Capagno is probably well deserving of a bonus. I mean, well, not that United can afford it, because it needs to fund the debt that we're currently in. But it's, if he goes in the summer for like 4 million, like on a permanent deal, which isn't incomprehensible, because he's got 2 years left in his deal at Melbourne City, I think. United have got to get 2.5 million for him, which is just completely insane for a guy who's 32 and he was a really good player, and I think you could see he was brilliant at the World Cup. He was Australia's best player at the Asian Cup, just gone. But a 50% sell on a 32-year-old that was part of a relegation side, one of the worst sides in Premiership history. It's quite incredible, to be honest.
Oh, we are trying to break that record. We've already broke one record for the longest run without a win after last night's 17 games. So, yeah. We're trying to top our team of 2006.
It was previously me with 15 for Motherwell, and then we eventually played Livingston, so that trend had to buck at some point.
Because Olivia did it went 16 twice in one season, which is incredible. It's absolutely incredible to do 2 spells in the one season of 16 runs without a win.
It's the banter years, and the banter years are returning with a vengeance currently. I can't wait for it, to be brutally honest with you.
I must say that League C is now being drawn. Sweden's in Group 1, Romania in Group 2, Luxembourg in Group 3, and Armenia in Group 4 so far.
You talk about countries that have fallen off a cliff. Sweden have completely... They lost 3-0 in Azerbaijan. And they were already out of qualifying when that happened. They were a country that I think we would have said were better than Scotland for probably almost all of the last 20 years.
Until Ibra retired, pretty much.
Yeah, and it's now they are in complete free fall. I mean, to be in League C, to have been out, they were like the first team that were knocked out of qualifying, which is quite incredible. Like after all the minnows.
Yeah.
It's that way that Goggs is saying though. Like I always remember Sweden as being a bit like kind of Denmark as well, like serial qualifiers for tournaments, and they always had some sort of talisman, like one really top class player in their ranks. You'll go back to like say Henrik Larsson, for example, or
Marcus Rosenberg, Zlatan,
Ibrahimovic, and I don't think they have that just now. And that's
Jordan Larsson. I think is probably the closest.
Yeah, but I think that's kind of telling. Just
no.
Or Isaac,
Isaac. But he's not Swedish. He's not been hitting numbers that he was kind of expected.
No, but it's different because Sweden don't have as strong a squad as Newcastle do.
Yeah, I suppose that does make it a bit harder for them. But they still have quality players. They're not, and they're another one that has. Okay, probably not as strong a league as we have, but they do have a pretty good domestic league.
It's a competitive league because they have different like sides. There's about 4 or 5 sides in that league that can win it. Without there being so much of a golfing class, so to speak.
But, I mean, you saw who's Aberdeen played this season?
Hacken.
Yeah. So they're the 3rd team in Gothenburg, and they won the league. That's the equivalent of like Thistle winning the league in Scotland. Obviously AIK, Malmo are kind of the traditional big clubs, but you can have smaller clubs that win the league, which is something that would be great if we could have. But again, there's not one club. Even AIK is not even as big as Hearts or Hibs. So in terms of support, like financially they are, because I think they just have the slightly better TV deal and slightly higher commercial revenue.
A lot of leagues like that have a better TV deal than we do, though. And
funny that, isn't it?
Yeah, and our league's still like seen as a good stepping stone to England, etc.
I think there's advantages to it as well. I mean, where we are, like, if you're selling leagues internationally, very few leagues outside the top 5, maybe only Netherlands and Portugal, have probably a higher sort of cultural draw than Scotland. Like, I think Scotland's got a far bigger draw than Norway or Sweden, even if the quality at times can be the same. I mean, the Edinburgh Derby is far more famous than any game in Norway.
Yeah, I'd say so.
So it's and I think we probably don't shout enough about it, but we do actually have that USP that a lot of people don't. Like we might like to write off ourselves because it's not a very Scottish thing to kind of boast about how great our league is.
No, I think not at all. Cost of living in Norway as well. Jesus,
yeah,
that is hands down the most expensive away trip I've been on. Between that and Dublin, you're talking tenner roughly.
Yeah.
And it wasn't even a full pint, it was like 380 mils or something like that, which as a Scotsman, that's
when I was looking,
symbolic.
I was asking people I knew who had been to Oslo, and they were like, "Oh, you're best just going to one of the places near the airport to just get like a 4-pack, and you'll be good."
Yeah.
Well, funny, talking about my previous travels.
This is why we've got you on, Ewan.
So I did eventually make it to Oslo in the summer there to witness probably one of my favourite ever moments in football, which was that late comeback. But we were flying from Aberdeen Airport, got to Aberdeen Airport, and you know the Little Britain sketch of the old computer says no. So went to check in, told computer says no, you need to go to the handling desk. Went to the handling desk, a few buttons I hit, told us it was all sorted, go back to the check-in desk, went back, got told computer says no. So then stood at the handling desk for 45 minutes, and you're kind of like looking at your watch going, what's going on here? And they made us a boarding pass on Word, and had to actually take us through security because we had nothing to scan. And they were writing our names down as we were boarding the plane. And the wee Scandinavian women's on the plane, so we were meant to be flying Aberdeen to Bergen and then Bergen to Oslo. And the wee Scandinavian woman's got her iPad. She's like, "You're not on the list." And we were like, "Look, we were told to come on the plane." So plane door shuts, doing the safety demonstration, think, right, that's it. And then the plane door opens and we're getting told to get off the flight because we're not on the flight manifest. And we're like, no, we were told it was okay to get on the flight. And boy, who was dealing with it very heavily, started shouting at us. And I was like, "Look, you're getting us on a flight to Oslo regardless today." And he kind of panicked and was like, "We'll get you on the next flight, the direct flight." So we go and have a pint. We get told there's seats on this direct flight. We're sitting and another hour goes by, and I just went to my dad's like, "I just don't, I'm in an untrustworthy mood now. This isn't happening." So my dad goes trying to find someone. A woman who had been dealing with it came up to me and goes, "Right, we've got you sorted. You're on a flight to Amsterdam in 20 minutes. I was like, "Right, my geography is not fantastic, but I'm almost certain Amsterdam's the opposite direction. Also the capital of the Netherlands." and she was like, "Well, it's the best we could do." I was like, "What do you mean the best you could do? We were told there were seats on a direct..." "Oh, they're for folk getting off a flight in from Newcastle." So I ended up spending 3 hours in Schiphol Airport. And one of the many Heineken bars across Schiphol Airport, which is like a city in itself, and eventually got to Oslo after all that drama. But yes, very unexpected trip to Amsterdam in the process of that. But God, this is why my dad's no longer allowed to book stuff, because it keeps going fucking wrong, to put it bluntly.
Fair enough.
See, this is why for Germany, I've just taken the whole leadership for like the 5 of us going and be like, "Look, I'm booking the hotels, I'm booking the transport, I'm booking the flights. Right, that's all on me. If you've got any specific issues or anything you want to sort out, tell me in advance, and then we can get it done." Because I'm not wanting to fanny about with people being like, "Oh, I did this, I did that." Like, no, like, this is what we're doing. Deal with it. Or
we've taken a bit each for Germany, so we're flying. So a wonderful roundabout way of getting there. We're flying Edinburgh to Paris, Paris to Stuttgart on the train, and we're staying in Stuttgart for a week. So I'm not going to the Germany game just because time off and things like that. I wasn't even just the sheer cost of it. But so we are getting there on the Monday and covering the 2 games against Switzerland and Hungary. So and then we'll fathom out how to get, but we're still to book our trains between Paris and Stuttgart, so there's still a potential hiccup in there somewhere.
I'm the same. That's the trains is the one thing I've not booked yet. As soon as that's done.
But other than that, it all looks relatively smooth. So I've said it now, touch wood. My dad's only booked the hotel, so that's the only thing he can get blamed for.
Well, League C has been drawn. Sweden are in the same group as Azerbaijan, funnily enough. We talked about them briefly. Slovakia and Estonia. In Group C2, Romania, Kosovo, Cyprus, and the winner of Lithuania or Gibraltar in the playoff. In Group 3, Luxembourg, Bulgaria, Northern Ireland, and Belarus. That's quite an even group, that. Pretty interested to see how that pans out. And in Group 4, Armenia, the Faroes, North Macedonia, and Latvia. Quite an interesting one there. Before Group B is about to be drawn, we're about to find out who England and Wales get, and it won't be
those
us.
minnows.
Peasants in the B group, the seaside leagues.
Yeah, Michael Taylor says, hi guys, do you think the top 5 in the Scottish Premiership has already been decided looking at the points gap and there is only one spot left for that top 6 place?
Well, just to be clear, we're out the race for Champions League football this season.
Yeah, I think that's
it's now mathematically impossible. So
I think there's a thing that Livy can't actually qualify for Europe anyway because there's issues with the UEFA license. So even if you were to win the cup, you wouldn't actually be able to play in Europe.
I think we might have met certain criteria since that initially came out a couple of seasons back. So I don't know what the script would be, but yeah, because we're a top flight club, you wouldn't get, for example, when you reach a Scottish Cup final or you get a European spot through that avenue, we wouldn't get dispensation because we are a top flight club. If we were in the Championship, we would, because you're not expected to have that sort of stuff in place. So yeah, I don't know what the script is with that, to be brutally honest with you these days.
I think Queen of the South got a bit of dispensation when they played New Zealand.
New Zealand in the Scottish Cup final, wasn't it?
Yeah. I mean, there's been a few, obviously. I mean, Gretna being the famous one, getting pumped from Derry City.
Har.
That was one that League of Ireland held that over Scottish fans for a long time, and I'm like, they were a second division club. They were in the third tier. Like, they should be getting beat 7-1 by, like, you know, it should be getting, or 7-3, I think, in aggregate. Yeah.
It was 5-1 at Fir Park, 2 each over in Derry.
Yeah, like, they should be getting beat by a top division club in any league in Europe by that margin. You know, if they didn't hammer them, then it would have been embarrassing.
Does that make them the lowest ranked club domestically ever to have played in European football? Is that one for trivia?
No, because I think you'll have like Wrexham and stuff would have, and Hereford United, I think they all won the Welsh Cup when they were members of the Welsh FA, but played in the English leagues, so they ended up qualifying for Europe through that. So I suppose that's kind of, you know, arguably,
that's cheating in a way, though.
Yeah, but it's a caveat, I suppose.
Because Gretna geographically is in Scotland.
I suppose. Well, even Birmingham and Wigan, when they won the League Cup and FA Cup, they would have probably been ranked lower than Gretna were, because Gretna would have only been 21st or 22nd in the Scottish pyramid, when Birmingham and Wigan would have been far lower because they were like mid-table championship.
Aye. But Group B is underway. England have been drawn against Finland and the Republic of Ireland, which that is quite interesting. Declan Rice will be having a field day there. In Group B1, Czech Republic are with Ukraine and Albania. In B3, Austria, Norway, and Slovenia. And in B4, Wales, Iceland, and Montenegro. It's an interesting group, that one.
Have you heard what Richard Key's his nickname for Declan Rice? It's Declan Nice. He says it all the time.
Oh no!
And if you go on the BN Sports Twitter account or YouTube channel, and all the analysis of Arsenal, we just go, yeah, Declan Nice, and he keeps on saying it 4 or 5 times to try and get Andy Gray to bite, and it's just it's incredibly Partridge. It's fantastic.
Banter.
He's got the hairiest hands I've ever seen.
He's a weird guy. It's like, if you ever read his blogs, they're absolutely brilliant. Like, it's just total box office. I think he just has some weird rants that he goes on about random stuff. But yeah, anyway. I just see England have got Greece as the other team in the group. So Greece.
Oh,
Finland,
they'll be waiting for their Beckham moment.
Yeah.
Bellingham with a Beckham moment.
That Republic Ireland game could be messy.
It would be very messy.
Well, they played in the mid-90s at Lansdowne Road, and a bunch of like English hooligans started like attacking people, and the game had to be abandoned. It was, you can find the footage on YouTube, and it's ridiculous. You know, it was post Hillsborough, post the sort of English football cleaned itself up image.
Yeah.
They cleaned its image up, and literally, you know, throwing missiles at the Garda. You know, they were on the top tier of the old stand at Lansdowne Road, and they're throwing stuff to the bottom tier. And I think Bertie Ahern, who was the Irish Taoiseach at the time, had to come on the pitch and try and calm stuff down.
Oh, wow.
You know, it's absolutely, but it's really bizarre. It's like, it looks like something you would expect to see from, like, you know, a post-Yugoslav state about 15 years ago, not an England-Ireland game, which was a friendly as well.
We've got a few comments. DM McDonald says Richard Keys looks like a fully grown ass fella.
Oh, God.
No, Scotland's not been drawn yet. We are about to be drawn. Group B, or League B, has been completed. In Group B1, it's Czech Republic, Ukraine, Albania, and Georgia. I forgot Georgia in B now. In B2, England, Finland, Ireland, and Greece. In B3, Austria, Norway, Slovenia, and Kazakhstan. In B4, Wales, Iceland, Montenegro, and Turkey. Wales reunited with Turkey after their wee bout in the qualifying campaign just past.
Small team Turkey.
Yeah, very small.
Just get all the engagement.
Yeah, definitely.
I still can't believe the amount of like bites that St Johnstone got from that. It was absolutely incredible.
Yeah, definitely. That was hilarious. That's one game I regret not doing for the channel. Like, because I went to St Johnstone against LASK the following week, but the fact I didn't go to the game against Galatasaray, I do regret 100%.
I actually think they deserved to win one of those games. I think they were actually quite good in them both.
Galatasaray were dodgy that season, very dodgy. I mean,
yeah,
I think
Transport won the league.
Yeah,
I remember watching the first game, and obviously they went 1-0 up in the game. Was it Jason Kjaer scored the penalty?
Yeah,
if memory serves me right, and they were excellent over in Turkey. And I've got a few close pals who are Saints fans that I've been on Scotland away trips with, and saying it was after they'd obviously won that cup double, and they went 1-0 up in Turkey, and I was just like, Christ, they're going to win the Europa League. Like, what's
just the ultimate cup team.
It's bad enough they beat us in a cup final. For God's sake, stop this pain and anguish happening. What could have been? But they were desperately unlucky in the first game. Obviously, they got that late equaliser, didn't they? And then just quality kind of shone through, I think, in the game at McDermott in the end.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think the last one was Witherspoon got sent off.
Quite early
on. Sorry, it was like 75th minute. It was I think it was level at the time that he got sent off.
Aye, but St Johnstone didn't lay a glove on last glance. They outclassed them. Didn't need to have a play on words there, but yeah.
Yeah, no, it's one of these things. European football. I mean, especially as a smaller Scottish club. If you're not Rangers and Celtics, it's different because you're in it every season. But I think for everyone else, I mean, you can suddenly feel like you can beat anyone, and then very, very suddenly realise, no, you are terrible, and you're bottom of the Premiership, and you're on your third manager of the season.
Laughing in Sligo Rovers.
Wait, you were in Ireland for that, weren't you?
I was, yeah. It was the best trip of my lifetime until the game kicked off, and Shane Blaney scored after 4 minutes.
Was that the free kick?
Yeah, the free kick, and then we ended up signing
an absolute raker of a free kick.
What's a raker? 35 yards out, I was like, it's fine, we're going to win this. And I'm like, right, we're 1-0 down, it's fine, we're still going to win this. I was drunk at this point, so I didn't care. And then Mata scored to make it 2-0 with about 5 minutes left. And I was like, right, that's it.
You're talking about these broad trips, so like, I've lost count of the amount of Scotland ones that get ruined by the football.
Yeah.
Like Dublin, was it a couple of years ago? Like, Dublin, fantastic city. I ended up there twice in the space of a fortnight because it was my brother's stag do 2 weeks before the game. So I was borderline living there. I was there that long. But
you had a scouting trip before it.
yeah, but that game was, that whole trip was, the game just essentially tried its best to ruin it. I remember San Marino, Alec McLeish's last game in charge, which
San Marino was great.
That was probably one of the most toxic atmospheres I've experienced at a football ground.
It was.
The sack the board chants coming through on the TV was quite incredible. I don't think I've ever.
Whereabouts were you sitting for that game, Ewan?
Sitting in across from the main stand. So I was
I was sitting right. I was right behind the dugout.
Yeah.
So, and all I could just keep hearing was chants at McLeish.
It was. We actually, there was a Rimini's, like the closest city to.
Yeah, I stayed there as well.
To San Marino, and there was a pirate themed bar called Bounty Bar or something like that.
I was there, yeah.
And there was a guy cutting about outside that, honestly, other than not having a broken nose several times in his career, was the spitting image of Alec McLeish just doting about this pub. And just constantly folk were getting sacked in the morning, you're getting sacked in the morning. To this guy. But the other thing about that, I didn't go to Kazakhstan, but it was that way. I'd taken a half day because the game kicked off so early just because of the time difference. And as soon as the game finished, we were flying. Yeah, we were flying to Milan. And obviously the performance was absolutely catastrophic. And we were in the pub in Edinburgh Airport, and there's boys in kilts, and I was like, oh, bit of a downer to go out on the trip today. He was like, what do you mean? I was like, do you not know a score? He's like, nah, no idea. I was like, it was 3-0 Kazakhstan. He's like, aye, fuck off, right? Right. And then I'm sitting at my table, right, and then I just said, Davey, you won't fucking believe this. And he just looks over at me and goes, what happened? Liam Shinnie at left back happened.
Ollie Burke coming off the bench to be
Liam Palmer.
Oh god, it was awful. Absolutely.
I must say though, sorry to interrupt. Some of the groups have been drawn in A1, Croatia, Portugal, and Poland. In A2, Italy and Belgium. A3, Holland and Hungary, and A4, Spain and Denmark. So I'm looking at A3 as an absolute must because France are in A2, so I would like to avoid that group.
Yeah, definitely.
All costs.
A1 looks good. I'd take A1.
For the scenic trips,
Ronaldo's getting older, so as well. So hopefully they're not.
Germany have been put in Holland and Hungary's group.
Oh, we're never going to get. We're going to be in A3 because we're just going to play the same teams over and over. We just go in a habit of playing the same team for about 10 years in a row.
We genuinely
had it to Israel, had it to Ukraine, had it to Czech Republic, and then we're going to have it with these three as well.
Oh, it's when us in Israel became an international derby. We were playing each other that often. Like
Lithuania as well. Lithuania, I think we drew them in 5 or 6 successive Euro qualifying groups.
Brutal.
Truly the Argentina and Nigeria. Oh, that's us.
We're in A1 with Croatia, Portugal, and Poland.
There we go.
Oh, yes. I've always wanted to go to Croatia, and Portugal's going to be quite fun as well.
Those are 3 trips I'm a fan of.
Yeah.
Israel is
the group of
death. It's a group you can conceivably get some results in more than anything.
Absolutely.
We've got a good record against Croatia.
Yeah. I can see us doing something against Croatia at home and Poland because it's the nations that aren't the absolute big hitters that we can do stuff against at Hampden, definitely. Portugal, we could even get a point against them if they don't play their best because some of these teams don't actually take the Nations League that serious.
They take it quite seriously because it's something they can win. So I think Croatia lost the final last time. And
Croatia got to the final, but some teams they have an off spell. For example, France finished 3rd in theirs last time round. That's the example I'm trying to take. But no, I'm quite enthused by that group.
Put it this way: Bosnia and Israel must be hating themselves right now. I mean, Israel are in that group with Italy, Belgium, and France. You know, that is the group you want to avoid. I watch Zahavi score a hat trick in every single game now.
De Boer as well.
De Boer, Solomon, all the stars. Emir Marciano going to be in goal for that.
I'm quite content with that group. I think you were bound to get one of the big hitters, regardless of what pot you got. And Portugal's obviously one of those. They're probably one of the nations I would fancy for the Euros coming up. But
we've got to get one of them.
I think Croatia, Poland, there's an opportunity to take results, although let's not take Croatia too lightly, because we did, I feel, at the last Euros, and they absolutely schooled us.
I'm guilty of that as well.
So, I kept saying that to folk before the game. Folk were going, this is us. We'll beat Croatia. I was like, you realise they were in the World Cup final? Like, just recently, playing in our first tournament since 1998. Right? They're actually really good. And I mind, I was directly behind Modric's goal at the opposite end of the park, but right behind him.
I was at the opposite end.
It was just...
It was like, as soon as it left his boot, you knew it was going in.
As I say, I was right behind him when he hit it, and you could see it coming back inside the post, and it was one of those where you actually just went, kind of...
Yeah.
Fair play. But they absolutely schooled us. And I think Steve Clark made a really good point after that game, like talking about us playing group stage football and playing against teams that are seasoned and playing tournaments. And I think that's what we came up against. Croatia are serial qualifiers for tournaments over the last 20, 30 years. And it was just the case that they're used to playing those kind of high pressure games at the end of a group. We're not. And, they had immense quality on their side, which I think we genuinely underestimated so much. Like, Modric was different gravy. Perisic as well, out in the wing.
Thing is, tournament football is a lot different to just your average qualifier, because, like, usually the big hitters, either when we play a big hitter, they've usually either qualified or they are gearing up for a good run. And, well, here's hoping this Nations League is going to be different, because, well, I do see us potentially getting something against Croatia at home. Like, if we play to the standard that we did against Spain, because we can do that. We've seen that we can do that. Portugal, don't know yet. Like, I doubt it, but Poland is definitely a target for 3 or 4 points, I'd say. And
I think we're putting a bit too much emphasis on Portugal here. You've got to remember there's a whole year between, nearly 6 months from now till then. Ronaldo is their star man. He is not getting any younger, and he's playing in Saudi Arabia. So I mean, like, do we really know how the intensity of the level he's playing at? They do have loads of stars that play in England and Spain.
Silva,
exactly.
Yeah.
They are a good team, but I think they're not France.
No,
I don't even think they're as good as England at the minute. That's probably a bold statement, but Portugal they are in theory should be the waning side of the big guns, as it were, like a bit like Belgium, like aging squad.
Yeah.
There is quality there, but they aren't the team that won Euro 2016.
Oh, absolutely. I'm not saying it's an impossibility for us to go and pick something up. In particular, the game at Hampden, I've kind of always thought this, and this goes back to years ago when Gary Caldwell scored that winner against France. I feel like we've always got a chance in games at Hampden. We've always got a chance, because the crowd can carry the team through some of those games at times, and Portugal will probably be no exception to that. I think, if they come up, for example, talking about teams underestimating you, Spain were the prime example. I think they came to Hampden, made something, 8 or 9 changes to the team. Yeah. I think they heavily underestimated us that night. And, Clark, I remember his comments before it, and it was, I think, kind of showed in the goals alone, but he talked about being aggressive with and without the ball. And, we didn't have the ball. Robertson's really aggressive in the press. Porro makes a mistake. We win the ball. the goal, Tierney aggressive with the ball, takes his man on. Even the chance that Dykes had, again, we got the ball, we were aggressive, went over the top of them, went direct. And I think, if we can be like that against Portugal, I'm sure it won't be an easy game for them, certainly at Hampden.
No, definitely not. Hampden, I'd say, is probably one of the most feared grounds in international football. And I don't mean that lightly.
Which makes absolutely no sense when it should have absolutely no atmosphere. It's the sort of ground that it's built completely the opposite way to an intimidating stadium. Yet somehow, if you've got 50,000 there, it's really intimidating. I actually think the only thing I would say, and this is from sort of business side, that the SFA probably aren't happy they didn't get one of the big guns. I mean, maybe Portugal might count as that, but I think they would have liked to have had us in Italy or a France just to help with the ticket sales and stuff, and just to help market it.
Aye, well, the worst case scenario was Italy, Portugal, France, and us. And
yeah,
thankfully we missed that completely.
I mean, still having, they can still put, Ronaldo against McTominay or something like that on all the marketing material and stuff. But
the last time we played Portugal was that friendly. We lost.
Ronaldo didn't even play.
Ronaldo didn't play, and I was gutted because
me too.
Just wanted to see him in the flesh play. So I'm kind of hoping he's not decided to retire come the Nations League.
I was going to say he's the one big name player like I haven't actually seen in the flesh. I've seen Messi in the flesh. I've seen like loads of other big names in the flesh, but it's the one that you still, even though I absolutely hate him, you still want to see him play.
Yeah, definitely.
In a competitive game as well.
Just to boom. Yeah. Or it's good for my video title as well. Ronaldo gets not made by Tierney, etc.
Oh no, you can put him in the thumbnail. You just get that, just drives the engagement.
Oh yeah, 100%, 100%.
Fantastic.
But I believe we're almost out of time. We've got one more question from DM McDonald. I'll give you the floor for this, Alex. If we finish second and if Portugal win the group, then end up winning the Nations League, are we guaranteed a playoffs minimum?
So it doesn't quite work like that for the World Cup. So it's kind of being changed in the format because there's now going to be more groups. Instead of there being 10 qualifying groups for the World Cup, there's going to be 12. So it's it's the 12 group winners plus qualify straight to the World Cup. The runners up and the 4 best teams from the Nations League will go as into sort of playoffs. UEFA haven't exactly been clear on how it's all going to work.
They haven't.
No, it's been very. Yeah, to be honest, like usually they'll publish some sort of video that explains it all. For some reason, they haven't done it yet. I think it's actually the UEFA Congress, which is what the straw is taking place at, is still ongoing. So I think it might still be dotting the I's, crossing the T's, and we probably will find out in the next couple of weeks when they'll publish another 5-minute video trying to explain something that's incredibly complicated.
Yeah, absolutely.
I remember folk trying to get their head around the initial Nations League and the confusion that caused. Never mind introducing relegation playoffs, promotion playoffs.
Honestly, like especially with this last tournament, because you had teams dropping down the leagues, and you're trying to work out how many spots do the playoffs drop down until they reach, like, so Republic of Ireland were ones that were all, it led to the scenario they needed to lose to the Netherlands in order to try and get a playoff. Fortunately for UEFA and for football, it didn't come to that, and for us, because we can laugh at the Irish, it didn't come to that, and they were already knocked out. But there's a couple of flaws I think they need to change and to just work out. I think the new changes should do that, but it's not perfect.
It's that thought of imagine going into a game going, our best result is to lose.
Yeah.
Score a few own goals first.
I suppose you do have that in major tournaments like England, Belgium, the Russia World Cup, where England had wanted to lose so they had an easier draw. I suppose that does happen. I mean, I suppose Ivory Coast kind of had that in AFCON by accident. I don't think they purposely lost 4-0 to Equatorial Guinea, although they did a pretty good job of making it look like they did purposely lose 4-0 because they were awful. So it does it can kind of happen like that, but not to the extent where you literally have to lose in order to qualify for a tournament. So yeah, they definitely need to make some changes, I think.
Yeah, definitely. Anyway, thank you very much, guys. Alex, where can we find you on the socials?
So yeah, at SPFL Watch or at AlexMar98, either of them. That's where you can send your abuse to. And yeah, I definitely hold an agenda against your club.
And Ewan, where can we find you on social media?
Yeah, on Twitter at rankin_Ewan. And if you do hate plastic pitches and want to revel in my misery as we plummet on our tour towards the championship, then at Talk Livy on Twitter is the podcast one as well.
And I'm goggsysaan. You can catch me on this YouTube channel or on Twitter as well at goggsysaan99. But thank you very much, guys, for watching. Thanks to my co-hosts today. It's been a pleasure being back, recording live. And yeah, it's time to go. I'll catch you in a bit. Cheers.